pretty strong bot lane, but into the late game, unless you give yourself a big lead, not as useful as they might have hoped. So they're probably going to try and actually grab a traditional AD carry. I'm sure they're going to think long and hard about whether or not the Aatrox should be allowed onto the Rift. Spoiler alert, they're going to ban it. And I think from that point on, though, I think those are the biggest problems that they dealt with game 2. I think even the Sona Lux ended up hurting more than helping them, because think about it, they draft an actual ADC, play the game out normally, they'd have more DPS going into that late game. They actually have more scaling to work out for them. Maybe things go a little differently.
Yeah, I definitely think that you got to pop back, fix that one up. Potentially you look and you go back to the drawing board. I feel like the team fight presence is something that FGC do play really well around. So I'd like to see that one kind of come up.
Yeah, it's probably going to be what they go for. Team fighting being the thing they draft around pretty consistently. So I can't imagine why that's actually going to change. More or less, this was what the game 2 composition was about. Again, they just lacked that late game scaling. That was such a big problem for them.
Absolutely. Now moving, though, we are into the draft, and everything is looking relatively similar to the second game here. Only difference is the Graves does slide through this time around as well. No, it's just the Graves. That is it. All that changes here is the Ornn gets banned out first rotation this time, and Mizzou, they know their win condition. They saw it once. They're willing to run it back. The Aatrox makes his appearance.
So that is interesting. That tells me FGC are really not too concerned with the Aatrox pick. They're actually going to grab themselves the Samira. So really strong crit AD carry. And now that they are going back to more of a traditional bot lane, they believe that they can handle Polar's Aatrox. So I'm curious to see how this one actually plays out. I love Shen. Oh my god. I mean, if we're being honest, I think Samira is that times like 12. But we're going to see if they can actually play around it. I hope they lock in this Shen, because I do like this one a lot as well. You have a lot more map presence with that Stand United, as well as very likely having a teleport too. And it's going to lane better into Aatrox, much more so than Set.
I feel like there's a bit more safety with the Shen, and it does skirmish a whole lot better. It has more presence in general, especially as you definitely give it the protection you need across the map. So I like that. In response, though, Mizzou, they're going to throw in the bot line. Yeah, the Xayah is available.
Xayah?
I believe Mizzou is the team.
I think they're going to do it.
Yeah. Mizzou is the team that definitely likes to play Xayah. The big thing that is to note here from Ghost Toasties is the fact that he says he'll only play it if there's massive engage that he really needs to eep out and kind of defend against. Other than that, he doesn't feel it is too strong. So not gonna see it. Sorry, beatdown. It is the Caitlyn. I like the Caitlyn, but I like the Rakan more.
Yeah, Rakan is definitely, in the current metagame, definitely a pretty blindable support in most cases, especially because FGC ended up banning the Morgana. The one support that really pisses in his cereal, if I'm being honest there. So that's a good call overall. I love the Leona pick. You need a hard CC champion, multiple stuns available to be able to consistently proc Samira's passive and get those extra knockups, get those extra attacks. So this is going to be quite the skirmishing bottom lane for FGCU.
Absolutely. And so I like this a lot better than the Sona Lux. I feel the Sona Lux fell a little short of the mark. We amped it up. We kind of flamed it a little bit, given it
rightfully so.
Yes, rightfully so. And it was very difficult for a while, but then the Ashe became Ashe that we all know and love in this current meta, and it just got worse and worse. So giving them something that's the complete opposite end of the cancer spectrum, definitely a big fan. Either way here, the Rumble, the Zac, the Ori, the Graves, all finding their way through the bans. All the ones here.
Pick Cassiopeia. Pick Cassiopeia.
Pick Cass.
It's
Cassiopeia. I know.
It's available. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to them.
They go for Lilia.
Wait, but then now they can't pick Cass because you don't want to go double AP mid and jungle unless FGCU are just absolute mad lads in the draft. But we're gonna see It all depends on Mizzou's last 2 picks.
Yeah, that's very true. Crazy thought. Pick depends on picks. Counter picks still left available for FGCU. Curious to see what they throw into the jungle here. The Akali. Now that's going to be making the reappearance here. It was good. I feel like we had some moments where it shined getting into the deep backline. We did have some rough plays where it went a bit too deep and resulted in giving Cass that lead that led to FGCU's victory in game 1. But I can see how it does hold the positivity and can find success. So they're going to close that off with the Kali and the Jarvan to secure some additional engage for Mizzou's Mizzou.
Yeah, so this is going to be... I like the Kali better here in Mizzou's composition. It's definitely much better for skirmishing. You have a lot of hard engage with the J4's Flag and Drag. Of course, the Cataclysm as well is going to be very good in locking people down here. But FGCU, actually, you know what? Here's the thing about this. Here's the thing. Just
Go
Zoe
ahead.
into a Kali. Nice. I like it. Kali's gonna have a rough day. That's cool. Double AP mid and jungler. I'm not a big fan. If you think about it, the damage profile is still pretty diverse if you look across the team. But I mean, the hard CC is gonna be nice. You have this lilting lullaby. Fine.
All right.
Yeah, it's not that bad. Double sleep is really good.
Nap time. I'm almost there myself. I've only got an hour till.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Fair enough. We all It's getting. No, you know what? I was gonna make a really bad joke, but I'm not gonna do it. Yeah, World is coming actually really soon as I look at the clock. But okay, you know what? Overall, FGCU still want to play front to back. Love the Samira pick. Love all the hard engage that goes with it, especially Leona in lane, out of lane. Samira's gonna crunch it. FGCU play their cards right. In my opinion, they win. It's it. They win the game. Once that Samira builds her 2 crit items, builds Death Stance, she will never die. That is it. She'll fight anybody. She'll fight you. She'll fight me. She'll fight Paul. I don't know. She'll fight everybody.
Oh, she wouldn't fight Paul. Paul's too kind.
That's true. Paul's great. I would actually fight Samira for Paul.
Yeah, I would fight him for either way. I think there's definitely a lot to say here regarding what FGCU can do, but one of the issues that they're going to run into, whether they can do or cannot, is the fact that most of their damage carries are so squishy to an extreme point. You have such a big divergence between the front to back at this point. Yes, there is the issue of how are you going to particularly catch them, but when you are running into the strength that is Mizzou's Aatrox, or the hard engage Jarvan, or the Rakan that's going to force you to engage, it's going to become an issue.
Yeah, we're going to have to see. I definitely think Mizzou's composition is still quite good, but the win condition for them is the same as it's kind of been throughout the entire series here. Play the early game. Be active. Understand what FGC's win cons are and just smush them. Smush them into the dirt. Samira, late game carry. Pitch your tent, J4. You're living in the bottom lane. That's what I want to see from Mizzou. I want to see more action in trying to stifle FGC's win cons. Just take a pillow, put it over their win con's face. Just smother it.
I mean, I like the sound of that, except the breathing noises that will slowly seep through as you know that they're on their last breath. That's always nice.
Guess it was
But I do think FGC do have a mid to late game. It's definitely there. All right, it's not just early.
Quite big.
The only issue is the fact that after that second game, I think we're both kind of scared, beat down. We can give credit to the late all we want. We can give the notice towards the fact that Samira is a very hard, just heavy champ as a whole.
Yes.
But after seeing Mizzou's Aatrox, you kind of you sit there and you're like, well, they do have a late game, but 100% scaling on a level 2 world ender ultimate that comes crashing into you when your backline is literally made out of paper. You know, that's not adding up in my book.
Yeah, to be fair, you can itemize against it. If I recall correctly, the last game, only one person actually ended up building Grievous Wounds on the side of FGC. So unless, and that's part of what actually made it the Rabadon versus Polar fight. He was the only one who built Morellonomicon. He was the only one who could actually stifle that
really?
healing and put. Yeah, I actually like. We have the.
Yeah,
We should have the image. I can see that.
You
I
are
have
correct.
right here.
Yes.
Yeah, literally the only
him?
one. That's what I mean. Like, and then I think towards the very end, Ronaldo's like, you know what? Maybe I should build an Executioners, but it was literally too late by that time.
Yeah, at that point,
You can't do that.
I think another issue with that idea as a whole, why you didn't see that come through as heavily, was the fact that you did have that double AP bot lane. The only real sense of executioners that you're going to get, or to get the Grievous Wounds stack off, my apologies, is going towards that Morellonomicon, which in itself is a bit of a questionable buy at times. I mean, it's the Aatrox, you kind of needed it.
No, you have to.
It is very, very heavy. Either way, I think now that the Samira is online and she has the fact that she can run Executioner Calling much, much cheaper, and the fact that Shen can come through with Brambles Vis, definitely I feel like that's going to be more of an ability to kind of mitigate what Aatrox will throw at you. So I didn't take that into account. That may completely sway the favor to FGCU in a completely different effect.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see. I think with just how powerful Samira's 2-item spike is, you don't want to delay that for anything, especially because she doesn't have to deal with any absurd healing in the laning phase. So I think she wants to focus on just the Essence Reaver Infinity Edge.
Well, either way, it's going to be left up to these two teams, both currently 1-up, as you can see. They both proven that they both deserve to take it to this third and final game, but it's going to be left up to them to find the victory here in Week 1 of the Heavy League. We'll be right back with the final game of tonight's series. Stick around.
It has been a series so far, ladies and gentlemen. Mizzou Junior Varsity and FGCU Thunderbirds, they're hitting the rift once again to bring us the third and final game of the night. My name is Dia, and I'm joined by Paul on the desk to witness this historic first game of XLNC Season 2. Rabadani's running in, and Naka starts the game off right, Yavol! He is feeling good this game, and Fuzzy Owl even better with that kill.
That's how we want to start off a game 3, right? That's a beautiful, beautiful start there from Yavol, and that's just such a big setup here to set the stage for what is at stake here. Mizzou trying to pull off what I would consider an upset, right? You have a new team against an incumbent third place, a collection of individuals becoming a team pretty much for the first time versus a returning playoff championship contender. And getting that first kill, I think, is a real shot in the arm. Coming off such a big game in a big way just a few minutes ago, that they have to be feeling fantastic and have their confidence surging in a way that I think was flat out lacking in game 1.
Yeah, now that they've taken that game 2 and in such, like you mentioned, such a strong fashion, they've really got to have the confidence there. It shows in the level 1. They call out, hey, FGCU Thunderbirds, they might go for something here. Absolutely right. Catch out, and Yavol has the impact that he's been wanting to have for the past couple games here. I think this level 1 really coming out strong for him could translate into something big in the bot side, because Tomas, he's a really strong point for FGCU.
It's going to be fun seeing Samira, and part of the privilege and dying gripe of being a caster for any new champ is like, it's really cool to watch, but I'm also learning some of these matchups on the fly in a given elo at a given day, just as much as our viewers. But we will, oh man.
Ooh, yeah, Ghost Toasty's taking a lot of damage, and that's first step 1 of Samira. She does a lot more damage at that level 2 than you have any right to expect. Where's the flash out of the Caitlyn so early on?
And her hard engage is really, really strong. Her ability to just dash in face first, the proc of her passive that allows her to juggle stunned enemies or any sort of immobilized enemies. Oh!
That's exactly it, Shada Kane. They've worked this matchup apparently because they use that exact juggling you're talking about to clean themselves up a kill.
It's like it's like I wrote the recipe on how to do that, right? Engage, face first, passive. And then you got to see it in practice. It is deadly. It's going to be a really hard lane for them. At the top, I mean, Dia, you had the idea too. I was like, why would you go Caitlyn instead of Zaya here? A little less stun ability. Uh-oh, though, Bearded Lady.
Yeah, gotta be careful up in the top side, because Bearded Lady, he's showing up, wants to trade this back for keeps, but Doran still has the flash. Gonna burn it under the tower, and plays that nice, respectfully, and calculated.
I talked about feeling confident after that first kill. No, you felt confident at B1 giving Polar Aatrox again. And Shen obviously no slouch at any part of the game. Shen's just an incredibly good champ all around. But you're giving Polar Aatrox again. I just feel like there's just such a command of the game right now for them. And sure, they're gonna have to deal with the likes of Tomas on Samir, and we saw how that dive ultimately plays itself out. But they're in a pretty good spot.
Toasties is stopped in place, and I think he just gets taken down for his sin. A little bit of an awkward, maybe AFK there for a moment. Means that bot lane gonna be suffering even more, and that's not something I expect to have to talk about, and certainly not something that you expect to happen. Is I think the pause is gonna very much justify the disaster that we just saw.
Yeah, and that's super unlucky, and those sorts of things that sort of just happen, right? We've all had throwers in our solo queue games. Eventually, across the course of a season, like that one kill there will balance out for them with someone else DCing or some kind of other internet problem. But in the context of this game, giving Samira another kill this early is really going to hurt. And it kind of in the background here, I'm also checking with our analyst desk here because we're all good friends and on the same crew here. We're all on the same team. They're talking about how strong she is. Like, it's not like, you know how certain champs are really good early game and then falling off late? I got a resounding no immediately when I asked our analyst, does she fall off? She does not. She is super strong, especially after 2 items. And you're just getting her on the path to that even quicker now. That's going to be really tough to go against when we're out of the pause.
Yeah, and I think that the real weakness of Samira that I've seen is that when you pick her, all of a sudden it's 4-man bot because nobody knows what she does and nobody wants to deal with it. But because Tomas has already picked himself up 2 kills, that 4-man bot, whenever it comes, can be turned around very, very quickly. Inferno Trigger is extremely strong, and you're going to hear me talking about it a lot because it is the basis of how Tomas is going to be able to output his damage and really take over this game potentially. Even Fuzzy Owl is going to have a hard time disrupting specifically Samira because of the fact that her 5-point strike is a projectile in and of itself. If a Blade Whirl at the right time comes in, you stop most of Akali's damage, most of her burst combo.
And now as we come out of, looks like we're gonna come out of the unpause now just fine. But yeah, and this is bots I know. And Yavol, we had seen him on the pike, and he was able to play that fairly aggressively. Then I think we're gonna need to see that sort of play here once he gets to level 6. That sort of time bomb to the quickness here, the same way it was for the Death from Below. Finding creative ways to push them ahead when they are already and probably will continue to be behind here for a bit on the bot side.
Yeah, from now on, you've got to play respectfully because even though you're playing the Caitlyn, this is really where Caitlyn suffers. We haven't gotten enough gold into the pockets of Tomas in terms of the double kill yet, hasn't been able to spend it, but it's really, really massive because it means that Caitlyn, a champion that needs that lane priority, has been denied it.
Now, my eyes are going to remain here on top side because if you give Polar an opportunity, it's not even just necessarily roam, but you give him an opportunity if he pushes in lanes constantly, hits level 6, that TP ability to come bot side into a lane where that's falling behind could be the saving grace here for Mizzou when they're going to be struggling. And Polar's just going to take full advantage of that, I think, and just be a commanding spot on the top side.
Yeah, that's really the ideal. You see that your bot lane has maybe not gone the way that you planned. You can invest into topside. Bearded Lady already showing us that in the first couple minutes, and Polar's been able to manage his lane really well. Even with Ronaldo coming up, you want to see this lane succeed, and after last game, it feels even more justified. Getting this Aatrox ahead could be exactly that win condition that Mizzou need to stay in the game right now and maybe even come out ahead because Aatrox can challenge Samira. As much as it's difficult and as much damage as she outputs, we saw Polar absolutely smacking last game. He is built to take somebody down at melee range.
Right, that's exactly it. And Samira's just going to keep giving them hell on this bot side. And if they're able to get, which I think they will, be able to get this Inferno, you're just giving more punch to a champion that really doesn't need it. It's already putting a, she's already putting a number on the man as it is. And so this Inferno, though, like, I'm not going to be like, oh, this ends the game. It's just going to make this bot lane even more oppressive.
Yeah, and the fact that they get this Infernal essentially for free off of the way the bot lane has gone. They get themselves bot lane priority because Caitlyn doesn't feel like she can step up anymore, doesn't have the flash, Cleanse just available now. There's no way for this Caitlyn weirdly to contest for the lane priority, and Tomas and Shada Kane get themselves the push, get themselves that first dragon, along with the help of Ronaldo, who's been pretty free this whole time to not really mind what his lanes are doing. He hasn't had a care because Shen is playing safe, bot lane is winning, and Rabadon, he's getting ahead in his own right.
And you're just so fast on this, Lily, is the other part of that. Like, you're just able to navigate your jungle, and if you see an opening, the opposing jungle, pretty much at will. Lily's speed sort of unparalleled for what we've had in junglers prior to her. Just sort of the way she can navigate the map is really unique unto herself. And so she'll just be able to run laps around this J4 if he's not able to get... With analysts hit the nail on the head, we wanted to see Bearded Lady living bot side. I don't think he's been there once yet, and he's got to make an appearance. He's got to realize he's not a farming jungler. He's got to be looking to farm kills, not camps first. And until he does that, his team's not going to get ahead.
Yeah, because on the other side of this, Ronaldo is a farming jungler who's actually getting the chance to farm.
Yeah, you're not going to win that sort of one-on-one, like, all else equal. You are not out farming Lilia. You're just not. But if you can start looking for some picks in living topside Polar ahead is fine, but eventually you do have to start landing these. It can't just be to open up the way for him. Polar can do that himself. You have to get kills from Polar.
Yeah, Vol just got spotted walking into that brush as well. And that means Doran, he backs off, wastes so much time from both the jungler and the support. It means Caitlyn's all alone on this bot side. And I know how bad this feels as an AD carry and how necessary it feels as a support, but being left alone there means that Caitlyn can't contest for CS, and the play's still happening though. Fuzzy Owl goes over the wall. He's the one with the kill here. Finds a little bit of burst, finds the flash back over the wall, but Fuzzy Owl's gonna take him down. Gonna be answered by Doran with the Stand United down, and it's going to be a 1-for-1 for now. Fuzzy Owl gets himself a kill, pays for it with his life. Can they make this guy, Fuzzy Owl on the Akali, second game this series, the win condition?
And that's really gonna be the question: is can you enable Fuzzy Owl above and beyond what we've seen to this point? And it's such a tough task. Behind, you have the kill is short. You're behind CS. At least you're preventing Rabbiton from building up that Dark Seal when Rabbiton's just been running rampant. But again, you have a bot side that's falling behind, and that eventually, as we cross from 9 minutes to 10 and 15, it spills into the other lanes, and I'm excited to see how Fuzzy Owl is going to handle that sort of adversity as we're moving forward.
Yeah, and it's not just that they're ahead in kills. They're also ahead in CS, as is mid lane. Top side, really the only place where there's a convincing victory going on. Polar up now, what is about 40 CS, gonna make it 50 soon potentially, as he's able to zone Doran out of even more minions under his tower. But if you're investing this heavily, if you're putting so many eggs in the Polar basket, you've got to imagine that there's a payoff, and that payoff has to come before that third dragon, or even at that third dragon, because that has been the turning point of both the series this game, or both the games this series.
And have they gotten? I mean, the first two dragons, both games have gotten FGCU, right? I think.
Yeah.
Right, and part of that, so normally you would see someone like Fuzzy Owl, where she should be able to rotate down, but the bot side has so little priority that that's just not able to happen. And this game's sort of playing itself out in that same manner. And I don't know what they can do in the next, minute to counteract that. Like, you can try to push these lanes in hard, but then do you really want to take that fight into Tomas already, pretty much building, already having BF and Caulfield? Like, do you really want to go after that engage? So they're going to have to play their cards carefully here. I'd love to see them at least put up a fight on the second dragon, but I think this script is going to play itself out the same way.
Yeah, for right now, ooh, Yavol gonna get caught up, gonna get put to sleep. Even with the quickness, that Swirl Seed is doing wonders. Gets himself out onto Ghost Toasties. And that's gonna be the Ronaldo showing bot here. The Lilia comes down, shows herself, and now with lane priority could look to get dragon priority. Rabadon, he's been taking pot shots out this river the whole time and is gonna be able to clear out this wave in a matter of seconds, because Zoe, she is a fair champion.
There's a lot of fair champ. I think a lot of people would look at this comp from FGCU and be like, "Oh yeah, Shen. Like Shen might be the most balanced champ if we're gonna go through and argue. Maybe Leona, but yeah, Samira, Zoe, Lilia. They have a lot of broken junk just kind of laden in there. And when you combine them all together, you're not allowed to play the video game against them.
You're really not, and it's because all of their highs are so high, right? Individually, we've seen each of these champions and each of these players even be shut down. Bearded Lady, though, looks for the steal, not going to find it, and that's going to be his death. As the highs were not so high for the Jarvan today, and instead Lilia gets herself not only a dragon, but also a free king.
That play, folks, is brought to you by You Hate to See It. That's our first You Hate to See It of the night. Bearded Lady went for a similar play, and it was at 4-on-2, I believe, in the last game. I believe it was also on the second dragon. Didn't have the numbers of it. This time, tries for, it was very clear the design. It's a 3-on-1. I'm going for this steal. If I don't get it, I die. And it played itself out the latter way. So, unfortunate. I respect the effort to at least try to stall it, because they just couldn't push in mid and bot fast enough to run down. But it now sets them back, and we're going to have an Ocean Soul this game, so as if they need more sustain here, both sets have an opportunity for it.
Yeah, we're going to see if this Ocean Soul becomes contested, because right now, Mizzou very much on the back foot, but Ocean Soul is something that demands that you challenge it. right now, I like last series or two games ago, we saw the Cloud Soul come up when Mizzou was behind. And you see Cloud Soul, it's hard to play into, but it's not game ending. But Shen, Ronaldo, Tomas with Ocean Soul, game ending. And Ghost Toasties, life ending for right now. Shada Kane gets the kill there in the bot side. And now we're going to see maybe Mizzou trying to turn it around in top side. Ronaldo, he's here though. He wants to punish this back. Doran is going to be the sacrificial lamb. 3 are put into the top. And can Ronaldo defend this tower? Because right now, Wave's sitting back bot side. Mizzou is losing tower plates. And FGCU, are they going to get answered back on? Is there going to be the Rift Herald on the top side? It will be.
That's such a beautiful answer, Fab. I mean, you did give plates at the back end of the 14-minute mark to Tomas, but you're able to get first brick here, going on to a lot of people. That's really nice.
It's not first brick though. Right?
Gee,
what was it? Was it not? Wait. Can we get somebody confirm that those went down way too close to each other? Somebody, one of our analysts, somebody in the chat, let me know what those went down so close to each other that I don't know. Okay, FGC. Holy Lord, that was almost total disaster.
That hurts. That hurts a lot because now that trade's not nearly as worth it because they had to invest a lot to move up topside, and you give so much go to Tomas. Can we get the code up on the screen there, Mr. Jake, for our audience, please? I mean, they've got now. Samira is ahead 1.6k gold, translated to already having Essence Reaver and Berserkers. And going to be building up, already has an extra crit chance as well in Cloak of Agility. Translates to she really is going to hurt, and she's going to be able to have her command of the board now.
Yeah, that's a whole BF sword plus boots. That's mobility, that's damage, that's a first item completion, as well as the Berserker's Greaves. And we saw the mid lanes going even, but Rabadon feels like he's running it right now. He's got a lot of damage here. I think he can one-shot Ghost Toasties if he lands a nice Sleepy Trouble Bubble. Caitlyn knows that. Needs to back off this tower, but it means she's not getting the farm that she needs.
Right, and that's going to be the biggest difficulty as we're looking at these CS numbers. I mean, the tail of the tape is that we expected Polar to have a lead topside. That's not surprising, and I don't think FGCU especially cares. Like, that's what you gave up, allowing them to pick that. That was your expectation of how this game was going to go. The rest of the map is where you begin to kind of like groan and be like, ooh, this isn't, I don't like that. I don't like any of that. And the math as we go under a minute here to the next dragon is they're just going to have to play better League of Legends and catch them out.
Yeah, and it's going to have to be not only better, but what I want to call surpassing what you would otherwise need to have. I don't know what the word for it is that I'm looking for, but it's more than was expected going into this series because they've fallen behind so much in crucial areas in this early game. It's not that much. It's 4K gold. That's recoverable. It's difficult, but it's recoverable. It's where it is. It's not on Doran. If Doran was ahead 4K gold, you got a game. Tomas is ahead 4K gold. Or no, Tomas is ahead 1 point whatever K, 1.7, 1 point something K gold. That is a lot of gold where it matters, and that's the hardest thing, especially as this dragon comes up.
Oh, they're going right.
There's nothing here. Polar, he's waiting around this bot side here, but Rabadon is rotating down, and the rest of Mizzou, they're not in position. Dragon is started.
Then you go for a pinch here really cleanly if they play this right.
Shada Kane, he gets the Spirit, the Stand United right on him, buys even more time, and that means engage from Mizzou is wasted here. Third dragon, it's ticking down. There's no way yet for Bearded Lady into the pit. He does get there! He gets the steal, and now the fight, it's coming up. Mizzou, as they run down with the Aatrox that we mentioned. Rabadon turns it around, a double kill for Ronaldo. Can they find this miracle fight here? Flash from Rabadon won't get him out of dodge. Aatrox picks himself up a kill, and the snipe from downtown with the Caitlyn gonna get the ace in favor of Mizzou Junior Varsity. That dragon fight could not have gone better.
So there's a lot to break down. Ultimately, what happens is, like, the way they set up the fight, they pull out the dragon, but then they let it reset. And if that reset doesn't happen, that probably doesn't go in favor of Mizzou the way it did. But it does reset, slows the whole thing down. They're able to steal. And then quite literally, you have the Cataclysm pounce from Bearded Lady. And then it comes the rundown, where the team excels, where Polar excels. We already see him 3-0-2 there. And they're able to take the rest over. Now, on the back end of it, Ronaldo getting a 3 kill is not too shabby. You at least like recover some of what you lost there. But that's a really smart fight and a really well play there from Mizzou to capitalize on that Dragon reset to find the steal. And now they've quite literally evened up this game.
And I'll be honest with you, Paul. Going into that fight, I was going, this is the dot on the I here for FGCU. They've done so well in this game. They're going to be able to get themselves a nice fight in the choke point, especially after the chunk onto Shada Kane, where it looked like Mizzou just had to back off, but instead they find themselves a fight. They might find themselves a pick here. Jarvan goes forward, and there's going to be no response here from FGCU. They think the jungle is theirs, and Mizzou, they correct them. Remember we won that last team fight? You have to be scared of us now.
Yeah, picking off Zoe is so difficult, and the combination of CC that they have sort of across the board here at this point makes these one-on-one picks or even these skirmishes difficult, because even if you get them down, trying to get them out through the CC and disappearing acts, it's going to be really difficult. But man, how important was it to prevent soul points?
Yeah, and now there's an engage onto Shada Kane. If this tankiest member can be caught out in their own jungle, double sleep across the board though. Tomas, the Inferno trigger on Ghost Toasty's face. The trap, importantly, buys space, and the heal is forced out of this Samira, but it's already triple deaths on the side of Mizzou, and it looks like it's going to be another one as the blooming blows. The swing around of a Kane from Ronaldo will pick up the AD carry. Fuzzy Owl, the only one left alive alive, and the one player who's caught out, Shada Kane, he's still alive, and they're going to be able to take down this Baron.
Yeah, I believe they will be able to rip through this really quickly. Mizzou's just screaming out, no mas, Tomas, but he's just way too much. Once he gets some heal cut, that's game over. They're relying strictly on Polar's World Ender. It worked last game. They don't have enough to sustain through. You don't have that double support. You basically have no healing to make that happen. Heal cut will end that pretty quickly. That's not a big purchase here. I want to see the executioners here shortly. It's still not there, but I'm sure they'll recognize it here shortly. But once that's settled, I mean, it's a 4K goal lead just off that fight alone. They're really going to start rolling this thing over.
And I mean, yeah, like the Executioners is sacrificed to help Tomas hit that 2-item spike. With the 2-item spike, it's what the analyst desk talked about. This is the point where Tomas can start popping up. That Inferno trigger already looked scary. Almost took down Ghost Toasties by himself. And I'm sure that with proper time, we are going to be able to see Tomas run the Rift like this pick expects to. This Samira is well and truly set up. And if Shada can keep absorbing these engages, if Mizzou keep throwing everything they have onto this Leona, it is going to be a rough game. They've got 52 seconds to rectify this.
How scary is that you're saying now Tomas can start popping off with the 2-item spike, and at this point still 4-1-7. Just the potential upside and ceiling on what a Samira can do even at this point in the game is horrifying. And as we look at this next Dragon fight, if you're trying to find your way into her and a team set up just in front of her and letting her sit back and kite and just have her way, you're going to eat a ton of shots to the face. That's just so much to deal with.
And it's going to be a test for Tomas as well, because this champion hasn't been out that long. Have you actually mastered the positioning of Samira? Have you mastered the oh-so-important skill of when it is that you dive? Because if you haven't, we're going to find out really soon. You've hit the 2-item spike, you think you're hot stuff, but if Tomas hasn't put in the practice on this champion, if we see him diving in much too early, this is still a very squishy champion. There aren't a lot of defensive stats. There's no death stance. This is a target that can be blown up. But right now, no contest on that. Ocean Drake will put FGCU at Ocean Soul, and that buys so much more time for us to find out those answers.
It's kind of funny. I'm thinking like when you mentioned that, we all like colloquially talk about Lee syndrome, where you just go in literally blind and just try to figure things out. you can kind of end up with that a little bit with Samira too, if you think you can put the whole team on your back and dive right in, but they're going for something.
Right now, Tomas is pretty safe, has managed to get himself out of there, and the Stand United right on top of him buys him time for the Inferno trigger. It's there, but in the meantime, Fuzzy Owl, he goes right back into where the fight was and extended it so much, and finally, we get Yavol going down, but the Inferno trigger is pulled for a quadra kill from Tomas! And they make the fight work. What was so extended and split FGCU, they buy the time for their AD carry, and Tomas, he makes them worth their time. It might be Polar going down here. Shadowkane's looking for it, can't die just yet, but they want that penta for Tomas. Polar going to deny it for now. The cheeky gent, but he'll lose an inhibitor turret for his troubles. Should be the inhibitor as well. FGCU, they are looking so strong right now, and Tomas shows us that he does have that patience.
I see what you mean about him popping off now. I got you, Dia. That's exactly you hit the nail on the head. Got the 2-item spike, time to go to work, and just absolutely decimates them. The quadra kill speaks for itself, and they don't have an answer for it. And I'm not really sure you could. The way this comp was constructed was that Bearded Lady had to find a lot more ganks early on, and unfortunately, because of what happened bots there where they just kind of fell behind, the golden rule of not ganking and losing lane, with all of them sort of started losing, so you never really found a way to make it happen. I mean, Polar sure has this big CS lead, but it wasn't like a domination of Dorn or anything, and now they're in a position down roughly 5k gold, looking at Soul Point in the face here shortly. It's going to be really hard, and it's not a team that you can just pick off in the jungle out of nowhere. They're just going to have to find a way to, do the proverbial scale up and try to hang on, but it's going to be so difficult through this damage.
It's going to be even more difficult with these triple man dives coming in, because FGC, they have the confidence now to run the jungle. Rabadon, he's walking in looking for those sleepy trouble bubbles, and yeah, Polar's on bot side, but you're losing in top. How much longer do you let these trades like this go on? Do you pull Polar back? Because last fight, it was so perfect. It looked so perfect for Mizzou. They split off all of FGCU Thunderbirds, but with the Shen, there was just no way for them to focus down Tomas in time, and now he's even stronger. Look at his items.
And the way that they've been able to scale up so smartly, and now you're putting so much pressure across the map that you win this 4-on-4. There's no question of it. Polar not being there is their sign that, like, okay, we win this 4-on-4. Doran can at least hold him off for long enough. If you want to have a base race, that's probably not the spot you necessarily want to be in. I understand the principle, and I think it works for now, but they have to be careful that they don't give up too much space and just open up this entire base, because it's going to give Soul Point and probably Baron for free to them shortly.
And that's what you're so scared of, is that the time that FGCU is winning these fights, the time that they're pushing in, is buying them more for the future. Polar is forced to pop the world into there into Doran, who just whoops over the wall and is now completely gone. That's another cooldown bird. That's Polar's reset interrupted, and even more time for FGCU to set up around this objective. And the objective is the name of the game. We saw them take the 20-minute Baron. That translated into so much. Now they've got themselves on Soul Point. They've got the Baron coming up shortly, and it is their fight to take. Mizzou have to call them perfectly.
And if they walk in, so we're seeing we saw that they kind of debating, can we have time to reset, do we not? We see the call is probably that Mizzou does not have time for a reset. But you see the heel cut come in. If you take a 5-person fight here, hold the Stand United, you have the Executioners calling now, you have the Bramble Vest, anything you do to mitigate this Aatrox basically mitigates the fight before it even starts, because that's their win condition to this point. They're not going to have a whole lot else other than that, and they're doing everything they can to get rid of it. Oh, no.
Ooh, if you can mitigate Yavol as well. The one engage here is reduced to sub 100 HP, gets himself away, but it's 12 seconds on that dragon. I don't know if he can come back, if he can make these magical engages happen like he has been.
That solar flare, he went squarely into the center of it. Now, I like this call here. Mizzou wants to try to trade Baron for Dragon. They've got to move really, really quickly, though. I don't hate it, though.
You're trading it for Soul, and Soul being down. Now you're trying to get onto Shada Kane, who has the sustain from this. The swirl seed from downtown, gonna buy time and space for Polar to be caught out. Doran, he's starting a fight in the meantime, catching up the other CC Bruiser, Inverted Lady, and Mizzou, they are herded back into the base. They are zoned out, and it looks like it's gonna be double objectives for FGCU.
And they had no engage, so you go to Baron and you highlighted you're paying the price of giving up Soul, but you're like, okay, we can't really contest it, so let's try to at least create something else. But you've all used this quickness to get out. Bearded Lady's caught in the mid lane looking for something. Outside of that, you have no engage tool, and so they have to just give up both objectives, worst case scenario, and now they're going to be coming back with even more power than before, as if that were even possible.
I wonder if Samira gets her Death Dance. Doesn't have the gold for it, unfortunately. That would have been a really game-ending buy there. Instead, it is going to be the injection of the 300 gold across the board. And I'm curious as to whether we see the wait out for the item spikes. Do we see the Baron pressure now? Because right now, FGCU, they're in a fine spot to take this game as long as they can find a good fight. Mizzou need to interrupt them, and it's going to be very, very difficult.
And that's exactly, it's basically like, it's not necessarily one fight territory. We're not to the 30-minute mark. The pace of play it started off very slow. I mean, we saw how controlled it was. It was like 5-3, like 12 minutes in. It was probably the lowest kill game to this point. But now that the pace is picked up, the death timers don't necessarily help them because of that pace. They're not going to be able to just run this thing down from one fight. But if they continue to take these fights, and then they start plastering for Elder, now we're talking and they can put an end to it.
Dude, if we see Elder buff plus Inferno trigger, I'm actually going to lose my mind on the cast, and I already felt like I did. The quadra kill was so crazy from Tomas here, and he's really showing up in a way that I think that last season set us up for very, very well. And the last season, we saw FGCU Thunderbirds. They started playing around this bot lane. Rabadon able to silently succeed wherever you're placing him. And Tomas has paid off on that investment in both Game 1 and now this Game 3, where they've been able to absorb so much pressure. And this time, take over a game.
And so now they're set up with an 8K gold lead here. They have the soul. They're able to just kind of siege down here. I mean, we're seeing this bot tower is in a whole lot of trouble. And if Doran's able to pull anybody away, especially Polar, they can pretty much just dive tower, because you're going to finish people off in a blink of an eye with Tomas and get out the tower.
He decides to fight, and a deletion onto Samira means that Mizzou could win this fight. Can they turn it around? Rabadon is the only damage left. Polar, he's still alive, but is going to be the last one remaining as a triple kill for Rabadon. I forgot about the Fawn, and he has got more than enough damage to do this at this point. Rabadon's helping him out, and it's another quadra kill. Ronaldo grabs that one for himself. And the ace comes in for FGCU. The death timers might not be enough from outside the base, but when you're inside it, it feels like you've got an eternity. 19 seconds is the closest respawn, and it's not going to be enough. As the Nexus falls in Game 3, FGCU Thunderbirds, they take themselves the first best of 3 of the season.
So well played. And for us, we had hyped up all along. The win condition is Tomas. But then you caught it on the head. Ronaldo, no slouch, has more than enough power to back it up. And that comp just overall just was able to manhandle Mizzou at the end there in such a big way. And they put away what turned out to be a really exciting series. And I think a really good indication of what's to come in this season, that, yeah, you have a third place team like FGCU, but you're going to have new competition like Mizzou that you haven't seen before, so you can check the box for novelty, and they're just very skilled, and they're going to improve. They've barely been playing together, Dia, so it's only going to get better and more difficult from here for every team.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing to point out, because as great as these games were, and as snowbally as it really felt like it was, Mizzou took the second snowball and they looked comfortable handling it. This is a team that hasn't been playing together for a very long time, but like you said, they're going to improve. And if we can get this level of competition, if we can get this level of stress, anxiety, and excitement in every series, I will be a happy man come finals. I am super excited for the start off that we've had. And for right now, I think we're gonna toss it to Analyst Desk very soon. Before we do, though, I wanted to talk to you, Paul, about who you think our series sort of goes to. There were a lot of key players in every single game, but it's something that is a discussion that I want to start because there were pop-offs everywhere.
Right, and that's sort of the difficulty of it, because like it's not often you're picking an MVP from a losing side. But I think you kind of have to let it go to Polar here in sort of a big way, right? Because if we're talking about most valuable player is how I'm going to taking the framing of the question. The person that made the biggest difference for their team was probably Polar. And I say that because at the end, as much as we thought Tomas was the difference maker, Ronaldo's the reason why they end up crushing it. If we think of it in terms of like, oh, well, you know, like, from the winning side, because it's like, okay, well, we have to give it to someone there. Doran really had their difficulties with Polar, not all their fault. So for me, it was like a lot of what Polar did was just so beautiful to watch that for me, it's hard for me to stray away from that.
I like the argument there, definitely in terms of providing the most value to the team. I think across the series, it was really the second game that he popped onto my radar, and the third game, I really felt that consistency, even though they weren't able to make it happen. And I like the argument because he looked ridiculously good on this Aatrox. I expect this pick to be denied him even more often. I mean, just to throw my own in there as a lowly play-by-play, I really did feel like Frabadon was extremely powerful and was able to very silently succeed. And I think that that's really where we start having difficulty with this conversation, is that none of these players were slouches. We saw everybody really whip it out at some point during this series, and that's something that I look forward to being identified in the team as we go on. For right now, though, our analyst desk is ready to go, and I am looking forward to what they have to say about the team. We'll see you soon, and that is for you, Beatdown and Zephyr.
That was one heck of a game, and in the words of Mr. William Chillingwalk, if anyone knows him, it was over by draft.
And he would absolutely be correct in this scenario because, I mean, it was over in the draft. There's a reason you don't really see the tanky, hard-engaged junglers like J4 pick these days, because this is not the meta anymore. With champs like Lilia, with champs like Evelynn finding prevalence again, having that extra bit of damage output in another role is just too powerful right now. And honestly, from this kind of draft, all that Lilia had to do was have like 2 successful ganks. All Samira had to do was make it to 2 items. Like, it's just, it doesn't even feel fair.
Yes, you are correct. You give yourself such a massive schmoove by picking Samira, and then you slam it with the Lilia. I mean, I don't even have to go. I mean, I'm on the analyst desk, so I'm going to go to the extent, but those picks are broken, man.
Yeah, look at Zoe too. It's just all this damage. It's just disgusting. Like how strong they were. Like you talked about it was the schmoove. Like they're so powerful. Like what you saw towards the end of the game, even before the Ocean Soul, which by the way was legit GG well played at that point. Any fight they took, any single fight, you just watch them get dismantled because Lilia put someone to sleep. Oh, Zoe can also put someone to sleep and just blow people up. Polar did not get to relive his glory from game 2, and honestly, it's because they not only picked a real AD carry, they picked freaking Samira.
Yes, not quite the Lux and Sona bot lane. They actually
consider the serial piston.
Oh my gosh, calm down, run XLNC beat down. We can't have that. Either way, with all of it we've got here tonight, we have finalized and picked an MVP. We're going to be throwing it back to Paul and Dia respectively as they give you the wonderful interview with the man himself from FGCU, Tomas.
All right, this should be us. I want to make sure that Tomas, you can hear us.
I hear you clearly, my friend.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us on the interview. I am Diadripa. I am joined by Paul here on the desk, and I mean that was a really crazy series. I want to open this up. You guys looked really good in game 1. Did game 2 shake you at all?
Well, for the most part, I mean, you know how losing a game can shake you a little bit, but we try to keep a positive mental and just forget about that game. Maybe look at the mistakes of it, but always look at the next game and what we can do better.
Sorry, thank you. We're just coordinating at the what is it called? The order of questions here.
That's fine.
So after that, you know, you forget about game 1. You still whip out the Samira in game 3. Now that's a relatively new pick that I have yet to see a lot of and often gets punished quite heavily. Is this something you've been practicing on your own, or have you played team compositions that are around the Samira? Is this something that FGCU came to XLNC with going, this is a comp?
Well, I've been playing here on my own, of course, but also we've been like looking into comps, doing scrims, and we thought it was a pretty successful comp when we ran her. We try to get champs that synergize well with her, and you know, it was a success. So, I think she is a really good champ. I don't think she's 200 years like Aphelios, but she's close, maybe 100 years.
She's really hyped too, because whenever you pulled like I was talking to Paul before the cast, and I was like, yeah, casting Samira is my favorite thing because half of it is just yelling the words Inferno Trigger,
Yeah.
because it's so crazy how much damage, how impactful the ability is, and sort of on that note, we saw obviously your mid laner Rabadon looked very good as well for the entirety of the series. I would say we were having the MVP discussion, and I felt like everybody really put up these very solid performances. How do you feel after exiting XLNC Season 1 for Heavyweight, coming back into Season 2? What is stuff that you as a team have improved on that lets you be able to take that top spot?
Well, so far, I mean, after the XLNC finished, we weren't like tilted or anything after the last game. We just looked up as like, okay, we did well, next time we'll do even better. And we all just play on our own, practice better, and we you know, play some games together, run scrims, just try to work on our problems. Even we're looking to get a little bit of coaching soon, because as you know, our team, it's only 5 players, so
Yeah.
we do everything on our own. Well, 6 players with our sub, of course.
And so let me touch on that. So when you all were prepping, so you got so far in Season 1, and then now coming into Season 2, how has, from when you started in Season 1 to even now and for the course of this season, how has that changed, and how is that going to change how you all prep? Because like you said, you're looking into getting coaching, but are you all VOD reviewing together? Are you playing together? You had mentioned you're practicing Samir and solo queue. What sort of the prep week to week look like for what you all are doing, and how is that evolving to get you guys the championship?
Well, yeah, pretty much everybody plays solo queue on their own to like increase their mechanical skill, but we also run games together, scrims, and we look at, obviously we do bot reviews as well. We look at our mistakes. It's just a learning experience. Every time we finish either a game in XLNC, a scrim, we just try to look into it and see what we can do better every time.
And we'll get you out of here on this question here, Tomas. So talking about that, you come in with this massive win here in series number 1, which was a really exciting series to cast. What's sort of do you guys have an expectation like coming in where you guys like, this is our season now, or is your expectation just to get better as a team? What are you guys looking forward to in this season 2?
Well, we look to get better as a team, but we also want that victory. We always want that victory, and we're gonna work for it hard.
Keep hunting it down, because you guys looked really good all the way through last season. And I mean, I don't know if you guys see it, but we have seen you guys grow immensely. I do want to take a minute to toss it back to our analyst. Thank you so much, Tomas, for joining us here on the desk. We're going to take a minute to wrap up how the rest of the games did go tonight. And I look forward to seeing you back on the Rift once again. Thanks again.
All right, thank you.
All right, with that being said, me and Mr. Beatdown have made our way back after such a wonderful interview with Thomas himself. Beatdown, welcome, bing bang bop. Overall, FGCU take the victory here in 3 games, 2-1 over Mizzou Esports.
That they do, and it ended up being a pretty convincing victory with one glaring, we'll call it issue in game 2 with a certain double AP bottom lane that we will not name. But besides that, pretty good pretty good showing from FGC. We just had an interview.
Yeah, absolutely. Other than that, here in the XLNC Heavy League, as you can see, CGC, our returning victors, did manage to 2-0 the Booyah Exiles, who are also the returning team here. So no surprise there. They're still just as strong. Our boys Vlad took the victory up against, sadly, Anarchy Fallen Paladins, much to my displeasure, as I predicted Mr. Paladins to win off of that one instead. Furthermore, I believe, no, it's not a tie anymore. YUO, they finish and take the game off of Lotus. So all the series come to a close, most of them going to 3 games, which is kind of that's kind of a schmooze for the Heavy League.
I was
like
just thinking that. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Off to a really hot start, showing that the season's going to be super competitive, and you love to see it.
Yeah, mad props. So, Mr. Beatdown. Oh no, actually, Mr. Zephyr, do you have any final thoughts regarding this series as a whole tonight?
Is this a joke that you didn't tell me about?
No, you'll figure it out later. Don't worry about it. But Mr.
Okay.
Zephyr, any final thoughts?
No, I think that pretty much sums it up. Great series today. Great series going all around. Can't wait for next week.
Absolutely. Well said, well said. Well, I want to thank all of you guys for coming out and showing massive support tonight here on the XLNC Heavy League stream here. I mean, you guys were a banger of a chat to hang around with, even if you had to be roped in quite a bit by Mr. Jake Kelton himself. Please pay him the respect he deserves. We love him all the time. Either way, we love it. You guys are awesome, and you can come back anytime. Throw out the follow, throw out the subscription. We appreciate that any day of the week. But of course, on the behalf of all the teams here tonight, Mizzou Esports and FGCU respectively, of course, the mad production pulled off last minute by Mr. Jake Kelton himself. Of course, the 2 banger of a casters we had going, Mr. Paul and Diatropa respectively, my fellow analyst, Beatdown Boulevard, and me, of course, your host and analyst, Zephyr. We hope you all stay safe and have a great night.